So now in the Innovation Show, we welcome Ollie Fegan, CEO and founder of UsherU and previously Tempster. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Aidan.
Good to have you here. Before we talk about your current project with UsherU, you've kindly offered to talk about the backstory behind this with Tempster and the learnings you had from that. So let's jump straight into it. So how did you get to Tempster and then on to UsherU?
I suppose I was working in a family business which sold to the restaurant space, and I suppose the idea for Tempster was to help restaurants sell empty seats. So I suppose one day I was going in and out of restaurants and they kept saying to me, you know, I was looking for cash basically, you know, you owe me money this week. And I went in and said, do you have the money? And they said, look, business has been terrible. We have done nothing all week. And I just kept thinking is if you could sell tables in real time and customers knew which restaurants were looking to get them in, there's a business there. So one day I just said, look, you know, I want to do my own thing. And I bit the bullet. I basically quit work. I had no background in technology. I had no, you know, partner at this stage to basically set it all up. And I just started basically, I suppose, building a roadmap of what I needed to do. And I got onto the New Frontiers program in Enterprise Ireland. Through there, I found a developer who had a friend who wasn't doing something. I got a little bit of funds to pull something together, and it just sort of started. And I suppose in terms of the key learnings, probably what I learned most is that you need a good team. Again, I started as a lone wolf. I managed to get out with a few great interns to get lots of restaurants on board. We had a basic product, but I had the roadmap to get the product onto the market, but not to innovate with the product. So I think really what I learned was, you know, you have to continually innovate. What you're doing this week needs to be improved next week. You need to know where you are, not just to launch, but how to basically build it into a sustainable business.
If you're in a restaurant business and you have that problem, sometimes you need to zoom out and actually take time to go, actually, there's a widespread problem here. And if you think about the data that even gives you of, you know, what days of the weeks are most profitable, what days of the weeks people go to the restaurant most often, there's a whole data play there as well.
Yeah, and I think I definitely didn't spot that when I was starting off. You know, that's the big part. I think the more that we know about habits, the more we can actually, I suppose, bring proper change, not just sort of one-offs, let's fill a table now. It's about the bigger change. It's about sort of optimizing businesses. And very much, I suppose, when it came to the end of the road, which was the end of funding, and I suppose while we had a great, you know, user base, it was never going to be a sustainable business until we raised proper funds. And the space was getting crowded in. So OpenTable had just bought over players in the space. OpenTable was bought over by Booking.com's parent company. So what people saw was that they're trying to basically get into the restaurant space, and all the investors said, look, we're not going to invest. You can't go head to head against these guys. They've got too much funds. You need, you know, 20 million funding to succeed. So it was sort of, you know, I suppose with a heavy heart, I said, I think as a startup or a founder, you have to say is, look, I have to draw a line on this. I could have brought a little bit of a wage for myself, but I was never going to make a proper business out of it. So, you know, one day I basically just pressed the off button, which was tough, but, you know, you sort of move on. Yeah,
and you did, and you moved on very quickly, because I mean, I have to tip the cap to you, because you did that so quickly. You know, Tempster was there, all of a sudden UsherU was there, and it was really, really quickly, and fair play to you.
And again, it's through a bit of luck. My brother, so I suppose, will I explain a little bit of what UsherU
Sure, yeah,
does?
please do, yeah.
It's essentially what we do is we learn about every consumer's preferences for cinema. So what types of films they look at, which cinemas they go to. Then basically they can buy tickets for all cinemas in 3 clicks through our product. So instead of putting your credit card details in to lots of different, you know, websites, and it can take up to 20 clicks to do it, we drop it to 3 clicks. And the biggest problem in the cinema industry is the stat is 92% of people who say they're going to go and see a film just forget. We say Ghostbusters is out next week. You see it on Graham Norton. You say you're going to go to the cinema next week, but you just kind of forget to go to see it. So what we do is when it's just about to leave the cinema, for example, we alert consumers that their local cinema is going to stop playing on Thursday. So if you're going to buy a ticket, now's the time. And I think kind of actually how we started it at the start was one of my good friends, Catherine Downs, who I went to university with, the two of us were talking about doing stuff at the same time. And my brother Alex is a filmmaker. And his biggest problem when he was making films was every single film project is a one-off project. So he's currently showing a film in the States at the moment, and his last film, The Irish Pub, played in the States as well. But when he was bringing it out to the States, the new film, it literally was a whole new marketing campaign. There was no overlap between one film to the next. So there's just a huge amount of data that's missing, which could really optimize it. And, cinemas on one hand have 75% empty seats. Distributors now spend twice as much marketing films. And kind of talking to Alex and one of his friends who ran one of the cinemas in Dublin, we really saw that there was an opportunity to bring the data in to allow people to go to the cinema more, where they kind of just forget to go.
If you think about somebody like Netflix or Hulu or one of the players like that, they're monitoring the habits of people on their own platform all the time. And you've kind of zoomed up in the helicopter and went, okay, well, I'm going to do that for a network of different cinemas across the world and actually go, these guys, this cohort are guys who go to arts films. These guys are only interested in horror movies, the horror genre, or scary movies, the odd action flick.
Yeah.
Which is where I fall.
Yeah.
And then you go, these are comedies, and these are obviously families. And then you kind of go, okay. And like Netflix, you have the only problem you have is is it the kid or is it the parent using the account at the time? That kind of
Exactly.
way. So if you kind of mirror that in what you've done, it's brilliant. And I suppose the distribution pipeline becomes the parent cinema companies rather than have to walk the streets like you would have done with Tempster. So it actually becomes a quicker, if you can get over the line with the cinemas, because I'm sure that's a big task.
Yeah, and I suppose so that the key thing for us is, and what we didn't do at Tempster is we integrate with the point of sale systems of the cinemas. So if someone buys a ticket through UsherU, we write a write onto their system of the cinema. So there's no having to confirm if the seat's there. It's actually bought straight
in real
the
time.
cinema in real time.
Wow.
So that's, I suppose, another key learning was, we needed to, I suppose we're a marketplace, so there's demand side and supply side. If we don't hack the supply side and sort that out, we can never get the demand. So these are the things we've done, I suppose, to make it much simpler, and also trying to actually make it simpler for the cinemas to come on board. We can say is, look, you have no work. You sign up with us. We sell a ticket. It gets written onto your system. The consumer comes with a QR code or a booking number, goes to the cinema kiosk, puts it in, and they get their ticket out. So we're trying, I suppose, to remove as many barriers to them coming on board. But it's a traditional industry. It's going through an awful lot of change. Netflix is changing, I suppose, the market. And when I started, before we actually started, I looked at Netflix and said, I think this is going to kill the cinema industry. But what we've really seen is, I suppose, if film is art, the cinema's the gallery. It's a place where you don't have your mobile phone out, checking your emails, checking Facebook. You're there uninterrupted to watch a beautiful film, which people have spent 5 years making, and it's a beautiful art form, and it really, I think that's where cinema has its part.
Yeah.
And kind of our part is to, the cinema has to put on a great performance, good concessions, clean cinemas. Our job is to learn about what the consumers do and help them make bookings quickly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we see ourselves as an extra sales channel or marketing channel for the cinemas. We're not trying to compete with their websites, their apps. We're trying to get the customer who goes like twice a year to the cinema, alert them to a film that they wanted to see but just forgot to see, and I suppose just to increase sales that way.
Like, in a way, you're kind of like the Amazon for in a way, where you're kind of going, bringing all these diverse cinemas together, and you're taking a small fee for the transaction or the transactional value. And as you said, you're an extra sales guy. But I was thinking when you were saying about the cinema's job now. So I don't know if you've ever heard about Clayton Christensen's, he talks about the job of a milkshake. He said, so what do you hire a product to do? And they did this whole study on milkshakes for a fast food chain in the States. And they monitored people, what time of day they were buying the milkshake, were they on their own, were they with a family, all this kind of thing. And they realized that most milkshakes were bought before 8 a.m. on a work day. And then they asked those people who were buying the milkshakes, who were usually on the way to their car, why did they hire a milkshake? That was the question they asked. Why did they hire it? And they discovered every one of those people were hiring the milkshake because they had a long drive to work. It was boring. And if they bought a more liquid product, not so viscous as a milkshake, it would be gone too quickly. And it also filled them up for a little bit longer than just a water or a banana or something like that. So when you think of the job of the cinema, like for me now, married with kids, the cinema with my wife is a time to go and turn off the phone and, get away from the family unit to be with her. And the cinema experience does that job for me. And then with the family, it's to entertain and so
Tire the kids out.
but it's funny because it's the same at retail in the way that they need to have much better retail experiences. If they don't, they're irrelevant, and the cinemas need to put on a better show. And I suppose you can see them going there where it's an event. It has to be an event.
Yeah.
And in that way, you're a friend. You're a friend going, here, we'll do all this for you. You focus on the event side because that's your future.
Yeah, exactly. And I think some of the cinemas we're working with in the UK, their average spend per customer is up to £80 per customer, because it's not just about the meal. It's about the couple of beers or the bottle of wine that you get at your table. You're also, there's an after service. Some people stay around after. So it's very much changing. This is about a night out. This is about really going to enjoy yourself. And while price is important, we thought it was the only factor to get people to go to the cinema. The main reason why people are not going is they're too busy, or, the weather is bad outside on a Saturday when they plan to go. They say, let's just watch something on Netflix or Sky or whatnot. So our job is to learn and to actually help be a catalyst for someone to make a decision. Be it that, a great film is leaving the cinema, or there's an opening night, or there's a screening with a Q&A with the director. Most of this information, we all used to check the newspaper, which, on a Friday, I used to remember just, you'd open it up.
When you had one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you'd see what's on, and then you'd make your decisions. Now we've too much stuff going on. We're constantly on our phone. We just sort of zone out of certain aspects. And, we did a lot of research before starting, and everyone said they love the cinema experience. We asked how often they go. They say every 2 months. We asked what was the last film, and it was 12 months ago. We asked why. They said, I don't know. There was no real reason. It was just they sort of had fallen out of love. And I suppose what we're really saying to the cinemas is, every consumer doesn't want to have a cinema app for every different cinema chain. We want one product where we put our credit card details in once. I see a film, I don't mind if it's on in Movies At or the Lighthouse or the Odeon. I say, I like this film, and just click and make a booking. Yeah. So it's really trying to put the customer first, and that's our focus. The cinema is there to make it a great experience and bring the love back for the art form of cinema.
Yeah. And how have you dealt with, so it's a network effect, essentially, where you need both sides of the unit with the demand. You need, obviously, the supply for the demand to happen, and it has to be ubiquitous. And I suppose in that respect, Ireland's a good test bed because you can get anywhere in 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that? Because have you started with a smaller test bed within Ireland, like just Dublin or anything like that?
Yeah, so as we started first in London, and then we came back to Ireland. So we started in Dublin, and we're very much working with sort of offbeat events, quirky venues, film festivals to, I suppose, prove the model works. And we've really sort of ramped up the sales side of it. And that's to help us get into the bigger cinema chains who are probably a little bit more apprehensive to do something new. So we've just signed up, I suppose, one of the big national chains, which is going to allow us to go nationwide, hopefully in the next sort of 6 weeks, which is an exciting moment.
Well done.
And so we're now, I was up in Northern Ireland last Friday. We're up there again tomorrow, and we're hoping to see if we can sign up all the cinemas in one go. And it's great. Ireland is small.
Yeah.
And I'm doing now a road trip in the next couple of days down through sort of Waterford, Wexford, down to Cork, stay the night somewhere down there, then going up towards sort of Dingle and Killarney, then go up towards Clare, Galway, up to Donegal, and then back down through Derry to Dublin. So there's a lot of prep to get these guys on board. They want to see this works with someone else. So we've got great, I suppose, case studies from the UK. And it's very much, it's I like to think of like the hurdles. You're jumping hurdles, and each time you're going, you're getting close to the finish line. Yeah. And it's not easy to get these guys over the line. It's not easy to get a consumer to actually either download your product or to come on board, and then to get them to make the first booking so you have their credit card details. And I think at that stage is when we have success, because it's very much like the halo effect. Why would you get a taxi on the street if you're looking to pay with a card or it's a company account? What we basically do is we have your card details. You don't have to enter them a second time. So it's very much, we see it as hurdles, and each step is one less hurdle.
And keep innovating them out, keep getting less and less hurdles.
Yeah.
So you're doing that road trip before, because you've another startup on the way, which is your first child as well. So
yeah,
that's going to make it. So you're trying to get this stuff done as well. I suppose that's a burning platform that you have.
100%. Yeah. So like the baby due in October. I kind of, have probably 2.5 weeks mid-September, and I probably can't be stuck down the countryside. But I suppose the great thing in Ireland, if something happens, I can make it back in
you're not too
2
far.
or 3 hours.
Yeah. So you're building up that network, and then as a consumer, right? So I download the app. Is it recommended that I have push notifications on? Because is it a push system where it goes, you went to this last time, this is coming out?
It's a bit of both. So we're trying to gamify ways for you to give us more information. So we have this Tinder game in the app called Swipe Club.
Oh, nice.
On a Friday, we send a notification out saying here's the film's out. And kind of people say is interested, not interested,
Brilliant.
Interested, not interested.
Nice, man. And you swipe left and right?
Exactly,
nice.
yeah. So what we're doing, and also we have a coming soon section where people can say films up to the next year, say I'm interested in this film. And then when the film comes out or it's just about to leave the cinema, we can then say is you have shown an intention to see this film, it's leaving your local cinema. And it's very, I suppose it's really to personalize it. Like, so you don't care about the Odeon and Coolock. You're not going to go to it because it's too far away. So we learn which cinemas you're interested in to enable us to actually point at the right films to you in the right cinema. And I think that's the big part. This is a personal experience. Cinema's personal, as well as being very social. So everything we're doing is to try and make it easier for you to go with your wife, your friends. We make it simple to share, what's on through WhatsApp. And then I suppose what's coming down the line is to allow people to pay separately for the same sort of film experience where you get to sit together. Yeah. So it's all about making it simpler, making it more social, and getting people out of the house.
Yeah, it's a great idea and a great product. And when you think of the data play, I mean, it's such a valuable piece of information to, like, even Tempster. Like, Tempster would have been a great supply product to go, look, these are the days you should be buying in, and a little bit extra, a little bit less. This is your this is your historical data, and this is your predictive data. So I know it didn't it got competed out of the market, but now those learnings with UsherU gives you the same thing. So they're able to manage their supply, staffing, all those kind of things, especially if it's becoming an experience event in the cinema.
Exactly. And I suppose we're trying to go a step beyond it as well. So we're actually gathering reviews after people watch the films. So we're able to show both the cinemas, but also the distributors, what people think of. And we sort of break it down. Here's how your film performed with, the 16 to 24-year-old market. Here's how it's performed with the 25 and whatnot. And there's an awful lot of preconceptions that we've noticed already that are, I suppose, taboo. We've cinemas in Dalston, which would be seen as an up-and-coming area, but still, a bit downtrodden in London. And they love documentaries. We'd never thought that. We've a big audience of older men interested in horror films. So there's...
Hey, what are you saying, man?
Well,
not that old.
60-year-old men.
Yeah.
And to market these, they're never marketed to because they're not interested in them. So what we're trying to say is we don't care if it's a man or a woman, young or old. It's all about what they like. And we can actually help distributors then reach those customers based on what they like, rather than putting an ad on television or on radio where it's expensive, but there's no metrics to show conversion. Yeah. So that's all we're trying to do is optimize for the two sides to, I suppose, bring more value, get more bums on seats, and I suppose everyone wins then.
But even what you said about the older cohort for the horror movies, because like as the world is going the way it's going, that age group is getting bigger and bigger because there's less disease through technology. People are living longer, and as they call it, the grey pound or the grey euro.
Yeah,
that's a great way from cinemas. That's a good future for cinema, because if there's a special rate, which there is an OAP rate, that's a great way to actually kind of go, these are the best times to screen those. Like, so it's a great product, Ollie, and we wish you the best of luck. So it's downloadable right now. You can go to UsherU.com, or you can go to the app stores and it's there. Yeah, so it's UsherU. So UsherU and UsherU.com. Founder Ollie Fegan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much.